Hello, this is Effie. I would like to make a little video about some clarifications and updates to the lesson 4 demos, specifically the Photoshop portions dealing with the texture layer and also the emulsion simulation. So in the previous class, I had several students make the observation that my Photoshop interface looked very different from theirs. And while it was originally recorded using a different version of Photoshop, it's essentially almost exactly the same. So I'm just going to point out what those differences are and how to achieve them if you need to or not. And then also there's an update on the brushes. Okay, so just on these landing screens here, you can see in the texture layer demo video and in the emulsion simulation demo video, I have very little open in the Photoshop workspace. Basically the layers palette, very large, and most of the other palettes hidden, just the toolbar and the menu showing essentially. So I'm going to skip over to Photoshop now. If you use Photoshop regularly, you have your workspace set up however it works for you. If you're opening it, let's say for the first time, this is probably similar to what you're going to see. This is Photoshop 2020. And this is the Essentials default workspace. Okay, so if you're not seeing something like this and you're familiar with Photoshop and you know exactly where you are, Essentials or any really with the layers palette is going to be where you want to be. So Workspace, Essentials. And how I like to work, just to make more use of my screen, these learn items here, I'm not necessarily interested in. I can just collapse those. And then I really have no need for the color palette and these palettes above the layers palette here. So if I collapse that whole thing, then layers are hidden too. And I don't necessarily want that, but if I just drag the layers palette out on its own, and that can be done before or after collapsing it. Oops, just want to make it larger here. It's being very difficult. Sorry. Okay, so there's the actual layers palette. All right, so here we are. Of course, the image you've opened will appear here instead of the white item. And this is essentially the main difference between that default Essentials workspace that was there before. Also in the demo video, particularly the emulsion simulation, at about 5 minutes in, I start to discuss which brush choice I used. I believe it was the 5th in the 2nd row in the default brushes, and it was called, let me get that for you in just a moment. Okay, so that was the round, fan, stiff, thin bristles brush. And I'm going to show you how to get that in Photoshop. The default brushes have changed in Photoshop since I originally recorded the video. So if I click on the brush tool and go to my brush picker here, yours will not look like this. It will probably be closed down like this. But that particular brush does not appear anywhere in these what are now the default brushes. If you click on the little settings icon here and choose legacy brushes, restore the legacy brushes brush set to the list of brush presets. Okay, now those should appear down here at the bottom. Okay, and that was default brushes. It's a little different format. Round fan, stiff, thin bristles. So in default brushes, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, brush 11 now in the default within the legacy brushes if you've restored them. And you don't have to use this particular brush. This is just the brush that was referred to in the demo and tends to work well to simulate the emulsion effect. All right, hope this helps out. As a reminder, you'll be choosing either the stained paper or other texture layer effect or the emulsion simulation. Of the two, the emulsion is definitely the more complex of the two. Have a great day. Bye.